Hello, my name is Fern, and I think that y'all need better aim. I'm a competitive Nautilus one trick, I'm about 2600 XP Takaroka, and so far I've made most of my competitive success by doing this. I am an extremely mechanics-focused player, and for most of the year I've been developing a regimented aim routine, which I practice my skills, I warm up, I train to try to improve my aim, and that's what this video is about. So I'm going to go over what aim training is and the reasons you might want to do it, what different aim skills are and how to train them, and then I'll go over my own personal aim routine and provide a few drills from top players. Aim is the fundamental, universal skill in all shooters. Every game demands aim to a different degree and specialty, but good aim is valued in pretty much every game in which you shoot things. Aim training is just the act of practicing different crosshair movements with repetition and focus. It is as varied and diverse as any other aspect of the game, but practicing it is a lot simpler. It's more like training different techniques on an instrument than learning different theories or strategies. Now, some of you might be asking, why should I practice my aim in a training room when I can get more experience aiming against real players in real games? I can tell you, this is about half of the responses I get when I talk about aim training. The answer comes down to something I learned from Viscose, a top aim trainer player. Essentially, if you spend 15 minutes doing drills in an aim trainer and 15 minutes playing the game itself, you will spend far more time aiming in the trainer than in-game. In-game, you have to wait for respawns, focus on other aspects than fighting, and simply do far more than just aim your weapon. Aim training takes the skills you develop in-game over long periods of time and concentrates them into a pure, compact dosage. The concentrated repetition an aim trainer gives you also comes with increased focus and specificity. In-game, you can't predict whether or not you'll be in situations that require the aim skills you want to work on. Your team comp might not allow you to take many fights, or the enemy team might be playing too fast, or too slow, or just in the wrong spots for you to get the practice you need. Aim drills allow you to isolate specific types of shots and work on them specifically, without interruption. At the core, aim is just a motor skill. Practicing it will build your muscle memory and your skills no matter how you practice. It's just like art or music. But aim training allows you to get focused, concentrated practice that will improve that motor skill much more quickly than otherwise. If you're a mechanics-focused player, you should absolutely be trying to seek out a system of aim drills that fit the demands of your weapon. But if you are not mechanically focused, maybe you're a support player or an AoE player, or the IGL for your team, and you have a lot else to focus on, I still think that you should be training your aim. Simply put, aim is a far easier skill to train than game sense or positioning or decision making. All it demands of you is a short amount of time spent putting repetitions of your hands. Aim is just moving your controller and your crosshair. If you want to improve your writing skill, you have to read other people's texts, learn theory and grammar rules, and develop your own voice. If you want to improve your bench press, you bench press until you can move up to a higher weight. Aim works like the latter. It is an improvable motor skill, and literally nothing else. You do not need to drink G Fuel and spend 3 hours every day in the Splatoon version of Aim Labs grinding voltaic benchmarks. If Squid Aimer works for you, that's great. But in truth, all you need to do is hop on the game 10 to 15 minutes earlier and do some intelligently designed drills. And aim training is always worthwhile. It is always beneficial to have better aim than your opponent, and it is never beneficial to have worse. When I talk about aim skills, I mean the crosshair motions that are used in the types of shots that a player needs to make in most situations during matches. In Splatoon, this is a very difficult concept because the types of shots that a player needs to make vary wildly with weapon choice. A slosher has a completely different aim style than a leader. It is so different that a player's aim can be very strong on one weapon and barely passable on another. The projectile system in Splatoon exacerbates this. Even within the same class, differences in shot spread and velocity make every single weapon aim differently. This is not a problem in many shooters. In high-level Valorant, or CS2, almost everyone has a similar aim style. The three main aim skills I practice for Nautilus are flicks, snaps or target switching, and tracking. This will vary, again, widely between players. A slosher player might want to focus entirely on flicks, while a ballpoint player might dedicate themselves to tracking and target switching. A V-shot might want to focus on all of them in a balance. So let's define these terms. A flick is a large motion in which the player moves the crosshair to and often through the target, potentially stopping. A flick does not entail any tracking. A snap is a smaller movement between targets, after which the player keeps their crosshair on the target. Tracking is placing the crosshair on and following a moving target. These skills have various uses and will be needed at some level for every weapon, but most weapons will favor some over the others. For Nautilus, a weapon with a very fast shot velocity and kill time, snaps and flicks are generally more important than long-term tracking. Splatoon as a whole has too fast of a kill time to favor long-term tracking at all, but some weapons, like Jet Squelcher, will want excellent tracking nonetheless. Additionally, longer-ranged weapons will need more variance in their aim skills than short-ranged ones, as they have more angles and target sizes to aim at. A leader often shoots at much smaller targets than a V-shot will ever need to. These skills are the core of your aim toolbox, and they provide the foundation from which to design aim drills. If you play a flick-heavy weapon, like Slosher, practice flicking between both standard and moving targets in both random and predetermined order, while both standing and moving yourself. If you need a lot of tracking practice, track dummies until your hands go numb. Not literally. A tip. Practicing in both the multiplayer lobby and the shoal can be great for developing depth in your aim skills, as the dummies move at different speeds. Players move at different speeds beyond just walking and swimming form as well. Run and swim speed can throw off your aim if you're not prepared for the small difference in movement across the screen. When you're designing your aim drills, keep the skills you need in mind. There's no need to do long-range tracking drills if you play Sploosh, and there's no need to do anything if you play Luna. Even said, my drills are a good benchmark for developing a well-rounded, fast aim style. So let's check them out. A bit of context for this section. I do my aim drills every single time I log onto the game for about 15 to 20 minutes per session. They are my warm-up, but they have also built and expanded my aim skills over time. These aim drills are designed to build your raw, fast aim, regardless of the actual shot mechanics of the weapon. They are fitted for the high shot velocity and kill time of Nautilus, but this is because they build fast aim, and fast aim is what works on Nautilus. My aim is much faster than most people, even on other weapons in the class, just because not shots follow the crosshair almost exactly in terms of speed. There is no shot lag and very little RNG to reward slower aim. Nautilus is close to hit scan at close and mid ranges, and I try to aim like it. To build around this, I practice with Bamboo and Squiffer. These weapons require more precision than Nautilus, and thus give better practice, and also offer a greater range as well as matching to some extent the shot speed of Nautilus. If you can hit smaller targets on a smaller timing, you can hit larger targets on a more forgiving timing. I have a freshest fit specifically for aim drills with 2 mains of Inksaver main and 1 main of Ink Recovery up. I would say that this is worthwhile because you will spend a lot of time refilling your ink while doing drills. Again, aim drills like these are a fantastic warm-up, but their main goal is to develop and refine your aim skills and improve your aim. So here's the routine. The first part of the routine starts before the actual drills. Hand stretches. I do hand stretches pretty much religiously before I play the game, both to shake out and warm up my hands and to make sure I don't injure anything. You should do these even if you don't play an injury-prone weapon like brush or squeezer. If you weren't used to concentrated aim practice, these drills can be pretty exhausting. Now, for the first few drills, the Nautilus section. Now, this is the only set of drills that I would really define as true warm-ups. They're mainly designed to just get my hands back in the groove of aiming, sort of just readjust myself, set the mood for the play session. So this first section is just really programmed. I'm just snapping between a few set targets. This section brings out one of the key principles in my aim drills is that I'm trying to replicate sort of the type of experience you get in an aim trainer. So try to pick your targets very randomly. In real aim trainers, the targets just sort of appear randomly on screen, so I'm trying to replicate by choosing mid-shot which target I'm going to go to next. I'm not pre-planning it, it's just sort of in the flow, snapping between targets, imagining I'm sort of in like a situation where I'd need to rapidly jump between them. In general, this is one of the more taxing drills just because you're doing so many 180s, so be prepared for your wrist to mess up a bit. Now this one, similar to the first, just moving through your rotations, but you're trying to implement a bit more randomness even in this drill, where you're just snapping between dummies, stagnant opponents, so it's not as close to a real fight, but it's going to help build your consistency. Now this drill, again, just snapping, more consistency drills, not much of a big deal. But these are really important. These are the baseline for how you're going to build the rest of your aim skills off of them. If you can't snap to standing targets, you can't snap to moving ones. So just building that consistency, that ability to just do this really without thinking, is what you want out of these drills. Now, this is the main, like, full set of tracking drills that I do. I don't really do many tracking drills outside of this section, but this is really where I just try to drill in my tracking. I do it with not just for the accuracy to the real game. I suppose it's not that much of a concern, but you could do this with any other weapon. But really, you're just picking one target, tracking it for a few back and forth repetitions, going to the next, a few back and forth repetitions. You're just trying to get your crosshair on the target for the entire time, no mistakes. If you can't do that, repeat it until you can, or until you can do it more closely than the previous time. So I mess around here a bit. This is a sort of Nautilus version of a later drill where you're snapping in between the moving targets, but now a better drill for Nautilus is to snap between the moving targets, readjusting to the new motion as you swap. This is a target switching drill, a pretty effective one. It's really just drilling the main aspect of target switching that you're going to use in all of your games, which is swapping between multiple targets at different speeds. Like I said earlier in the video, some people are going to have more swim speed, some people are going to have less, you're going to fight tactical opponents, so it's about building that ability to quickly swap between targets, whether they're running and then a swimming target, and just stack kills because you can track them. It's a really important tracking skill to be able to move at these different speeds. You can, if you're playing a more movement-heavy weapon, or you just want to train it, you can interspace some movement with the tracking, sort of moving around, strafing as you track. So, my Squiffer drills are mainly just to practice my flicks, because I do a lot of big flick-like motions on Nautilus, mostly to new targets. As you'll see, both with Nautilus and Squiffer, and then the next section of drills, the first drill I do on each weapon is just sort of a warm-up to the type of movement I'm going to be doing with it. For this one, I just start with a bunch of flicks to stagnant targets. Again, you're just sort of drilling that consistency with the flicks that you're going to need to work on more complex, more difficult shots. And this one is also about, flicking to a standing target and a moving target are much more similar than snapping to a standing target versus a moving target. Again, I do a sort of a lot of big turnaround focused section with the top right area of the practice room. Just sort of getting used to, again, getting that randomness in. You're just trying to drill turning around a bunch of different times. Now, this drill is interesting. I added it just because I felt like I needed a bit more precision, and this one from the high angle is good for that. Shoot at the far targets as well as the near ones, just precision's sake. Now this is basically the meat of my Squiffer drills. I'm flicking to the moving targets, mostly focusing on trying to hit the fastest moving target, but all of them in equal measure. If you miss a shot from one side, keep repeating it until you can hit it relatively consistently. You can flick slower or faster than this depending on whatever your weapon works, but really this is just the main Squiffer drill. If you only do one of these Squiffer drills, do this one. It's just good for getting your flick abilities on. Now, onto my bamboo drills. These are, I think, some of the ones that are closest to Nautilus. Again, I'm going to start out with a more warm-up style movement just for the first drill. You're just going to flick back and forth between these 4 dummies, front and back, moving left and right both times. Then you're going to move to this sort of more random motion. Again, randomness is big here. You're trying to get as fast as you can, snap between dummies with a random focus. Again, just from a different angle. Trying to get as much diversity into the aim skill as you can when you're practicing. Now, this drill, just 180s. You're trying to go a bit faster, picking random dummies. I like to go sort of back and forth between the diagonal ones, even as I'm deciding randomly. And then again, just a higher up drill. This is the more important higher up drill. I do it more often, almost every time. I don't do the Squiffer ones often, but just getting fast snaps in between. You're going to focus on shooting to the far targets as well as the near targets. Like, yeah, see over there. This next drill, the main Squiffer drill. A big part of what non-aim is just snapping and then tracking targets for a short bit, and those drills turn exactly that. Now, the holy grail of Nautilus drills. This one is probably my favorite drill I've ever designed. You are going to stand here and then flick directly to the soonest movement that you see. So you're going to stand, flick 90 degrees to the first moving target that you see, and then track them, and then track the next few for a while. This is a really good drill for just designing the exact type of aim for really difficult shots on Nautilus. Even when it's good for like those drills when you're down and you need to make a pretty clutch shot. You're also going to do it 180, just to, again, build more variance in an aim skill from both sides, as with the 90-degree ones. Again, just flicking to the first moving target you see. And then the last drill, just a sort of Nautilus warm-up, keeping the aim fresh. You're going to snap back and forth between. I do this just in between games. It's not something I practice heavily. And that's it. This is a drill from Lexi, a top pencil player. Essentially, what you are going to do is snap back and forth between the targets in this pattern, slowly speeding up as you gain accuracy and as you are able to. You repeat this, and this is generally just a warm-up exercise for pencil.
Hey guys, Div here. I am a high-level V-Dually player, and some drills I like to do include snapping and tracking. After stretching my hands, I like to practice snapping in between dummies because it helps me warm up that specific movement so it doesn't feel stiff when I do it in actual games or sets. It also helps doing these repeatedly so it's embedded in my subconscious, where I can snap during an engagement without even thinking about it. Tracking the movement dummies in the lobby helps me incorporate mix-ups and refreshes my brains on options I can do during situations, so I don't have to think about it when I'm playing. It'll come to me when I need it. Warm-up drills not only helps you get steady aim, but it stretches out your muscles needed to mechanically perform well and acclimates your brain to certain mix-ups and mechanics so you don't need to think about them during a game, giving brain space for other things like strategizing and mentality.
I basically have 3. Okay, so the first one is generally easiest. Okay, so mine is intended for shooters. If you play a flick weapon, you can do the fourth one. So First one, most straightforward, is just trying to track the dummies for the full duration of a Squiffer charge. Right? You just do this, you stand here, and you try and hit them like 10 times. With this drill, I recommend start slow. Don't worry about doing it correctly. Just make sure you are hitting all of your shots first and then ramp it up. So the easy version is basically you are trying to kill these 4 dummies on the ground with a rotation of bamboo shots. So it's like this. Right? That's the easy version. If you're missing, then you slow down and just make sure you have steady aim. And even if they like heal before you get back to them, you just slowly ramp it up. Right?
If you stuck around to the end of the video, thank you so much. This was definitely the longest and most complicated thing I've ever edited or worked on, and I'm just pretty happy that it's done and in a reasonable state. But yeah, I really enjoyed talking about aim. It's one of my favorite things in this game, and I think Splatoon has such an underpushed potential to be a really mechanically amazing game. We already have so many mechanically amazing players, but I think the scene as a whole just needs a little bit of that boost, and that's a bit of what I wanted to provide with this video. So if you have any questions about my drills or other aim topics, please just DM me, Remixed Fern, as if you'd musically edited a plant. But yeah, that's it. Thank you so much for watching.